Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Seeds of Liberty podcast, episode 52. We're going to go with Jeremy for the BIPCOT No Gov license.
Yes, as always, the Seeds of Liberty podcast is covered by the BIPCOT No Government License. This allows for reuse by anyone except for governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information about this at bipcot.org.
Someone BIPCOTted my beard.
Yeah, I saw Travis did that.
Nice.
It was pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. I made it the profile pic for my page.
Oh, I didn't. I got to check that out. I got to see
Or
that.
Dave's World.
Yeah.
Nice. So today we are back to the skeleton crew of the Seeds of Liberty, the original, the original team.
OG.
That is excellent. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the wonderful Danilo memes that Jeremy has been cranking out lately and causing a Facebook stir. And
I didn't want to. I wanted to bring up this topic, not Danilo. He's not some narcissist.
right, good to point that out. But yeah,
Oh, that's a lie. All these memes are getting to his head.
Well, whatever. Yeah. He's like, hey, how many memes of you got made today? Oh, that's right, 0.
you don't have Jeremy in your corner. That's the problem.
Oh man, every time I come up with a Danilo meme, I end up deleting it because it's too.
Racy.
Yeah, let's go with racy.
Well,
You have to ask yourself the question: would a certain social justice feminazi approve of this?
a certain so-called Australian comedian. Did I? Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Australian
Oh crap! I
economist?
forgot. She listens. Yeah, listen. I don't know.
Is she an
People.
Australian economist?
No, she's a
Or
comedian.
is she a Kenyanese economist?
Well, no,
Can
she's
you-
she's
Yeah, I
a.
saw that in a meme the other day.
Oh.
Sorry.
Nice.
Anyway, well, yeah. I don't mean to single her out, but she's pretty much the only one who has taken offense to these memes,
I
and
think so. Yeah.
she's. I said it the other day. I think I've offended her more than I've offended you, your wife, and your entire family put together.
Or even me.
Which,
I love Danilo.
well, I'm not worried about offending you, Dave. Well, I'm not really worried about offending anybody, but I just thought it was bizarre because this is now the second time it's happened. I've done 2 sets of these because what was it, like December, like end of the year was when the first push of these came out. I think when I did them, maybe, or I don't remember, whenever it was. And then I stopped for a while because I went off to do other projects. But she was the only one who complained about that first set. And I went back and looked because I thought it was actually, because the last one that she complained about was actually just a remake of one of my original ones, because now I had a different, I had different layouts and everything. But I went back and looked, and it was the one that said, it's basically alluding that you were going to help the women let down their barriers to entry. And she got so offended by that one and called me well, she didn't say it to me, even though her and I have communicated, so she knows who I am. I mean, I know she watches Danilo's show. I'm pretty sure she's watched our show. So and we've had interactions. And she knows that I'm the one who posted it there. And she saw that I was commenting and responding to people's comments. But both times she still talked like it was basically like I wasn't there, and it was just like, your friend is very rude and I can't believe he's doing this to you and blah 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 blah. And I'd be horrified. This time around, what was it? What did she basically say? She said if she was your wife, she would be mortified, or she said she was mortified for your wife, I think. Like, she took it to that level, which started getting me thinking, like, maybe she just has a thing for you. I don't know, because It just
Well,
seems odd, like, because all of your other
I mean, who
fans.
doesn't have a thing for Danilo?
Well,
And
I get.
if they're a lady,
Listen,
like,
I get that,
there's
but
probably some guys out there as
I'm
well. I mean,
sure there
let's not.
are. Well, no, I'm actually almost positive that we have at least a few gay fans that are following us specifically for Danilo, but that's fine. I don't care.
We'll take 'em all.
Put the asses in the seats, and I don't care how they get there. Um, but the
Danilo, you're here for a
but this
reason.
one, it was just so weird that she got so upset about it. It's like, okay, Danilo's obviously not taking offense to it. At least the last time around when I was putting a series of these out, Monica was liking every one of them. So it's like, I'm obviously not ticking off him or his wife. Why are you so mad about it? Because
Well,
that's why I was
all of
saying.
yours have been tame. I think I did 2 or 3 of them, and all of them are pretty risque.
Well, no.
I
I
think
started
just
stepping it up. I started stepping it up after a little bit after you did. Like I was trying to find ways to use economic terms in double entendres.
Yeah,
Which was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Which was awesome. Yeah.
But like I thought some of them were actually pretty darn creative, and she zeroed in on 2 of them and was very upset. That I would.
By far, your best one is, "Hey, ladies, want to ride on my Austrian
Well,
business
well,
cycle?"
that was this one that
That's
she.
my favorite one.
I know, but that was the one I redid recently with a different layout, and that's the one she got mad about this time, and she's mortified at it. Just all of your other fans, most of like when I look at I check to see because I get notifications when people like it if I post it to your wall, like it's like at least half of them are women. And they all think it's wonderful. And like you see comments from like your female fans going, "Oh, this is hysterical. I think this is great," because they've listened to you enough that they kind of get a sense of who you are.
Yeah.
And the whole reason we did this is because of who you are. We used you because, like, if it was me or Dave in the meme, it wouldn't be as funny because, like, well, we're a little sleazier than you are. So it wouldn't,
a little.
you are you are most definitely the clean cut one of this group. So it's very, and anybody who knows you, like, look at all of our other friends, like, like
You're the ones
Luis
walking around
and
with sex
Sterling.
trophies,
They
not
they
me.
le- they they think it's hysterical because they know you. They know you to be this very, very nice, very polite individual that would never in a million years maybe think of it, but would never actually say these things to women to their face. So that's a beauty of it. And like you said the other day, as a comedian, it's just so amazing that as a comedian she doesn't find it, like she doesn't have to find it funny. That's fine because it's subjective, but to not even appreciate somebody trying to be humorous via economic means, trying to find a new way to get, like, just spread the message. And
Well, I mean, we're also not only that, but we're, by way of weirdness, through the internets of things, supporting a friend of ours. Okay, because I mean, we're making content that is either in jest or essentially putting a spotlight on somebody who is also a content creator, right?
yeah.
So it's just, to me, it's just mutually beneficial for people like me, you, Danilo, and all the other people in our circles and stuff to do this, to support each other in the weirdest way possible, if that happens. And if it's making memes of somebody, if it's giving them money, if it's doing whatever, it's whatever, man. But like you said, man, it's just hilarious because it's, I'm not gonna call Danilo like Mr. Rogers, but Danilo is a very kind soul and would never say anything like half the shit that we put.
Well,
in
exactly. That's
yeah.
like I said, like if other people had complained, like if your wife had pulled you aside and been like, "Listen, Danilo, I really don't appreciate it," like I would have stopped immediately. Like, if Monica said something, I would have stopped.
Right.
That was the first thing I made one, and it got a ton. It went like
Yeah,
200
that one went
It
crazy.
right? And then I was just like waiting for Danilo. Like I didn't make another one for like 2 weeks. I waited for Danilo to be like, "Hey, nah, this is a bad idea. Don't do that."
she's not happy.
I was just waiting for like Monica to see it and be like, "Tell them to stop, please."
But yeah, like I said, like she appreciated it. Your other female fans appreciated it. Like, And
Danilo, if I would have told you like when you were 16 that you would have female fans, what would you have said to me?
Right, I know, right?
well, if you it's 16. If you had said it to me, I would have said, "All right, I made it to the Yankees just like I thought."
Yeah,
At 19, maybe I would have been like, "Yeah, all right, whatever you say there, man."
you know, as somebody who did stand-up comedy for about a year, you know, I can appreciate how difficult it is to take something as dismal as Rothbard would put it, the dismal science of economics, and make it humorous, right? How do you do that? Because that's basically what we're trying to do. You know, voluntarism is at its core. I guess capitalism and free market economics is you know, Austrian. It's an Austrian school, right? And so, how do you make that not boring? And that's the perennial problem that we have, right?
Well, I think economics is people equate that with math, or
Yeah,
economics people
yeah,
equate with math, so it's like, ugh.
right.
They don't think of business theory or anything else like that.
Sure.
Right, right. So, yeah, the more humor we can use to spread the ideas of voluntarism and liberty, I mean, why not? I mean, I don't see a problem with
Yeah.
that. You know, it's amazing that some people find that that's the problem with the world. Somebody making a meme about going to a
Well,
park.
like I said, it's just no, because it's not going to the park. You know, that's today's meme, and that one was a lot more tame, and you know, because it's basically was it just a takeoff of the one Dave did about the Federal Reserve that actually
Right.
was the one that went crazy.
Right.
You know, so it's like, but it, you know, yes, some of the other ones have been riskier, and you know, I can't please everybody. No, you can't. You obviously can, and again, I don't expect everybody to find them funny. I don't expect everybody to like them, but to
You really can
actually
only please yourself, Jeremy, if you really think about it.
of course I am. I'm doing because it makes me doing these make me laugh, and I know Danilo appreciates, so it makes me laugh harder. And I'm like,
Well, it makes me laugh, of course.
and yeah,
I
and
look
it's like,
forward to seeing one every so often.
but like, I just like I said, I just the level of the intensity of how upset she was. It wasn't just like, you know, I expected some people to be like, oh, this is crass, like one or two lines like that, and just be like, and then not want to interact with me personally anymore. But like to write paragraphs like she did explaining how to use the word mortified. I mean, come on, you're mortified over a meme about a guy you've never met, you've spoken to, you've been interviewed on his show, but you've never personally met. You don't really know.
It's like the
And
traffic
you're
accident
mortified? Like, give me a break.
It's I had a fender bender like 3 years ago, and I read the traffic accident report that the lady like filed with her lawyer, and she was like, Mr. Painter was driving with wanton wanton carelessness for every
Wanton
other
disregard.
driver on the road. And I'm like,
I've
no,
had-
you brake checked me. I couldn't stop this piece of shit van, and I hit you. That's the story. Sorry.
I actually had that line used against me in court too, but by the
Wanton.
yeah, because I was accused of attempting to purposefully run over construction workers, which was so not the case. They just
Yeah. Today I woke up and said, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just rear end some lady. Just wanton.
Wantonly.
wanted. No, I was I was
In the
I
rain.
was
I'm
I
doing
was told in court it was read that I was showing a wanton disregard for public safety.
Does anybody really know what wanton is? I looked it up when I read that in that paper. I was like, what in the fuck does wanton mean?
Yeah, that just makes me
I know
hungry.
what a wonton is.
It just makes me hungry listening to
A
that word.
I know
wonton.
what a...
Ooh, I do love some wonton soup. I haven't
Oh,
had that in a
okay.
while.
Wanton means of cruel or violent action,
Yes.
deliberate or unprovoked.
Do that.
Okay, yeah, rear-ending her was unprovoked. I will give her that, but
Well, no,
it was
she's
forces of nature that provoked.
she's basically saying that you were malicious in not just that you let it happen. You were doing it with like a malicious intent.
Oh, you know me.
Yeah, so that's stepping it up a notch. That's going right for the emotion, the appeal to emotion. That's trying to ratchet up people in her.
Anyways, that's what she said when she was mortified. She's basically saying that we're showing wanton disregard for Danilo's.
Yes. But I mean,
interpersonal relationships or
but
something.
yeah, but I mean, the one thing you said, Dave, is I mean, again, it started out kind of. I mean, the very first one I did, the very first one that went out was really just like an homage. It was meant to be an homage because it was one of my favorite quotes that I remember you writing a couple of years ago when we first connected online, and I've always kept it. And
And then I saw that when it said, "How can I fuck this up?"
yeah, well, exactly. But then, so it became like a kind of a gag between you and I. But then after that, it was really like, okay, people are liking these. Some people are sharing them. So it's like, all right, let's get Danilo's name out there. Like I started the last set of them. I started putting not just Seeds of Liberty, but I started putting peacefulanarchism.com on there too. And now I'm doing that. That I'm trying to launch them from the Facebook page. So yeah, like what Dave was saying, like that's what it turned into. It's like it's an opportunity to promote you.
I don't think anybody making a
It's
meme has any other motives other than I want to get this as many people to click share as possible, or get as many people to
yeah.
laugh, or inform someone.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. What
And
the
and
why
the
is
Danilo meme makes people laugh, and it's fun, and it sends a message. It gets a point across. Because I was talking a little bit before the show about like programming people with language. I mean, just people hearing certain words, that those words get embedded into their head forever, whether they realize it or not. Like, and one day all of it could just come slamming together, and then they could get it. So they might see Austrian business cycle on a meme, or they might see something crazy on a meme, and they think nothing of it right then. But 2 weeks down the road, it's like, what is the Austrian business cycle? And then boom, they're buying a Robert Murphy book, or they're buying a Tom Woods book, or they're buying a Rothbard book or a Mises book, and that's all because we took 5 seconds to make a silly fucking meme. And if somebody wants to get upset about that, obviously their life is not really that hectic, because if you're worried about other people making memes, especially, that tells me a bunch of things about your life, really, right there off the top.
Yeah, that kind of reminds you of I think Larkin Rose does that strategy also, where you just some people require more in-depth explanation about these concepts, and require reading of an economics book to understand them, and other people just need repetition. So he's like, just go up to somebody, and if you don't talk about anything else, just say government is illegitimate and walk away. That's it. And some people it works. Some people are like,
Taxation is theft, and walk away.
yeah, so you just say something like that, and they don't have no explanation.
well,
I
Some
sure.
people,
remember the first time I was like a hardcore Republican, and I heard taxation is theft, because, I mean, that's not just an anarchist thing, right?
It's a libertarian. Well,
Well, it's not even a libertarian thing, right? Like
yeah, no, it's
it's
no, it's
Thoreau, it's
well, but
Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry,
no,
all those kind of things.
no, well, no,
Well,
Jefferson.
they always made the case that if not consented to, taxation is theft, and I do agree with that. But you can't consent to taxes, because you get taxed whether you consent or not. So
or no taxation without representation, right?
yeah, so you just keep
Which is a
saying
weird.
taxation is theft enough time, and it beats into someone's head. And,
Right.
I mean, if that's in your memes and that's in your things, and it's like Google voluntarism. You might see that and go, I'm not Googling that, but that word is in your head
Right.
forever. Forever, it's in your head. And if you're like me, one of the weird ones, you see a word that you don't know, is rather than going, well, I'll probably never use that word, I go, I have to know that word. I have to know its etymology.
Yeah, I think the way I like to describe, why taxation is theft is, I always go back to the individual, right? Can you, take money from your neighbor and say you're going to pay for your child's education? No. So does it matter how many of you do that, or does it matter if you elect a politician to do that? It doesn't change the action, right? It doesn't change the morality.
There's a really cool video of Rob Gressis, I think. I shared it a while back, but he's a professor, I think at UC Berkeley, or one of the colleges in California. And he has like two boards, right? And one's, would you ever force anyone to pay for a charity of yours?
Yeah,
And
right. Yeah, that's
then
right.
it's like, put a star here, and then it's like, what do you think of is taxation okay? Yes or no? And then, do you agree that taxes pay for essentially charities or something? I can't remember the exact details, but it was like by the time they got to the third poster, it was like it all just fucking, you could see it in their face. It was like, whoa, there's a big problem here.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
or even Adam Kokesh did a video, very simple, man in the street video, define theft, right? And like forceful, expropriation of someone else's property without their permission. All right, define taxation, and just those two questions, light goes on. Like,
oh yeah,
Well,
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
well, see, that's funny. Well, I guess it depends on the audience because usually when you try that, the light doesn't go on. The door slams shut because the backfire effect kicks in. I just had it happen yesterday where somebody got to that point where they should have gone, oh, and instead they doubled down on their original position because it other if they were able to think that clearly, they really wouldn't be statists in the first place.
Well, not even status. I mean, it's all your indoctrinated beliefs, really.
Well, of course, but people get
I mean, have you ever thought that the universe is just an idea that man created? That's just an indoctrination, right? So, anyways,
Oh, no, we're not
So-
going
so
down that. We're
just
not going
because
down
you're
the
status doesn't
existential
mean
rabbit
you're-
hole tonight, Dave.
look, just because you're an anarchist or whatever, anti-statist, doesn't mean you're a free thinker of any sort. I think I've been contemplating that for a while, because you're just going off of some kind of axiomatic thing that coercion is bad, therefore taxation is coercion and all this, and you have to think a lot more into that, in my opinion. But all we can say is that I don't want to be taxed. I don't want to be stolen from, so I'm not going to do that to other people because I don't want that done to me.
Well, sure, you can.
And
Only,
so knowing or whatever all this stuff is one thing, that's for naught. It doesn't matter unless you put things into practice, right? So you can say, oh, someone's a free thinker, at least they're a statist, but that doesn't mean anything. You could say statism is the devil, but you could still be the most closed-minded person in the world.
well,
I mean, that's just a side point on what you said. It just made me
okay.
think for a second.
Well, I mean, I guess so. I don't know. I was gonna
We need
say,
to have an existential podcast one day.
yeah.
We need to have we need to have a someone else.
Well, if I can secure the
Not necessarily existential, but agnosticism, really.
well, if I can secure time to be able to use use equipment to do the show from Porkfest, then we can have the existential one during that one because I will probably be tripping on shrooms. So I'll be more than open to doing
Yes,
a show.
yes,
So
that's happening.
actually, I probably shouldn't say that because then Ian will never let me use the equipment. But
Might be doing this.
I
Right?
might. I bet. Well, I'm gonna try to do it
Friend of
regardless.
mine will be doing it.
I'm gonna try to. Well, I'll bring my own stuff. I'll see if I can at least get close enough to an internet connection, whatever. But what was I gonna say? The definition thing. Yeah, because you'd think if you present that to people, like, look, okay, because I say it too, like, if taxation isn't theft, then why does or if taxation is not extortion, then why does the definition of extortion fit the actions of the taxman? Because just like you said, if you look at the standard definition of extortion and then you look at how taxes are taken from you, the actions are exactly the same.
I think
The only difference is that one is considered legitimate in the eyes of the majority. That's the only difference. Because even the standard definition of extortion, I believe the one line is actually refers to especially political in nature. So it's like it's talking about the fact that extortion, the word itself, is focused around politics to begin with, heavily.
Yeah.
That so. But
well,
people don't.
anyone trying to steal from you is attempting to govern you, right? When you really break everything
Well, they're
down
trying to. They're trying to control
when
you.
the rubber meets the road,
Yeah, control.
when
I
you're
would.
not being controlled, you're not being governed. But when you're being controlled in any form, you're being governed.
Well,
So if
yeah.
someone puts a gun in your face and says, "Hey, give me your wallet," they're governing you. They're immediately governing
See,
you.
I don't know. I think If you were
No,
able
no,
to.
no, no, no. They're attempting to immediately govern you.
No,
of
but
course.
I was just gonna say I think if those words were so so interchangeable, there wouldn't be the necessity for both of them. I think it's more of a control thing. I think governing is
Legally,
slightly
right.
different. But I would
Well,
agree. I would agree. People they're trying to control. If I would in that scenario that you just put forth. That's what I would say. I would say they're trying to control you.
well, I mean, that's government is to control the mind. Essentially,
I know, but it's I like I said. I think there's
fear is
two
the only
different words for a
thing.
reason, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But no, but I do agree with the premise of what you're.
That's super-
I do agree with what you're saying though. They're trying to control you.
Yeah.
In that action, anytime somebody does that, absolutely, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so yeah, to go back to, when you ask somebody to define theft and then define taxation, some people get it immediately, right? And the reason I think is because, and not because like, they were like some kind of, I don't know, malicious or evil, but just they haven't thought of it. That's it. It's like in their brain there was darkness and cobwebs, and it just never went there, never considered it. And once you point that out, it's a light bulb. And then other people, like you said, the backfire effect, immediately get defensive, erect the walls, and then it's our civic duty, it's price we pay to live in a civilized society,
Platitude.
Well, yeah, they just
Right.
yeah, they just throw they don't need they're not actually responding to what you're actually saying. They're just they're just immediately. Quick side note. I actually had this exact scenario. Well, this scenario play out in a different form very recently in my personal life, where I actually had to explain to the person that it's literally like you're standing at a pegboard and you're just waiting. And as soon as I start talking, you're not actually listening. You're just grabbing pegs and throwing them at me. Because you're literally just throwing non sequiturs and straw men, just boom, 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 moving the goalposts, just throwing stuff at me before I've even finished speaking. So you have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's exactly what they're doing. You present them with that question: what's the difference? Where's the difference? And then if you try to explain your case, they immediately cut you off, and they're not listening. They just start throwing out this rhetoric, this propaganda that was pumped into their head since they were young. Civic duty, like you said, they just start throwing that stuff out at you. They're not actually listening. They're just throwing these things out because they think that's a mic drop.
And it's funny, this thing was when they assert that it's voluntary, because you can leave, and I wonder, well, if it's voluntary, then why do they need the guns, right? why do they need the threat of imprisonment? Why?
If we are the government, shouldn't the government be actively arming its citizens and teaching them how to protect their property?
Right.
Shouldn't that what they be? Isn't that what they should be doing?
Well, yeah, but I think I've come to the realization.
Shouldn't we all have like
a
bombs
lot
and guns, right?
Well, see, well, it's funny. This actually brings up another point for me that I think kind of bummed me out for a while. That a lot of people don't even use the "we are the government" rhetoric anymore. That's
because
actually
their guy isn't in.
what's that?
Because their guy isn't in.
No, but just in general, like even people whose guy isn't, like they don't because when I try to engage with people in conversation, and if that gets brought up, like if somebody else says it, or if like another anarchist or something says like throws that out there is like expecting it to come out, like people are automatically like, well, no, we're not, and because they complain, so it kind of depressed me because they recognized it. And they still resign themselves to doing the same damn thing anyway. Instead of recognizing it, going, "Oh, that's an issue. Maybe we should do something differently." Nope. We're not the government, but we're just gonna keep going along to get along anyway. It's like,
Well, then you get them to finally admit the real thing. It's like, well, yeah, but what can we do? We have to go along.
well,
And I'm
yeah.
like, well, yeah, that's been the case for how 60 million Chinese died and 40 million Russians.
Well, yeah. Well,
Just going along is how bad things happen.
well, yeah, but it'll never be that bad here.
But that's
that
the
can't
core
happen
argument
here.
you'll get from these guys.
Well,
It's
it's not an
It's
argument
fear.
though.
No, it's fear.
It's not
fear.
even an
That's all
argument.
they
It's
have.
just it's a reaction. It's a defense mechanism.
A fear-based reaction.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's absolutely fear-based.
Defense only exists because of fear.
Well,
Think about it.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean, that was too objective of a claim. One could consider that fear is the driving force behind defense.
Philosophical, Dave.
I don't want to get railed by people in comments later when they hear this.
No,
Uh,
he doesn't mean people. He means me, because he knows I'll nail him anytime he presents an absolute.
I just thought of this earlier today.
Well, then I should start doing it to you.
I try my best not to, man.
It's hard. It's very hard. I mean,
Of course it is.
I saw an article about Venezuela and how they see that showing food. I was just about to mention food shortages in Venezuela, and he shows me the cheeses.
I'm trying to get us a sponsorship.
Dave's like the type of guy that would eat a sandwich in front of a starving child,
right?
and then have leftovers and just smile and throw it in the garbage and walk away. Look at that.
You know what that reminds me
Because he
of?
starts talking about food shortages in Venezuela, and you're like, you look at these yummy Cheez-Its.
You know what that reminds me of?
I'm trying to get us a sponsorship from who is this? Probably Nabisco Corp, right?
I do not want their money.
It reminds me of those documentaries that show the starving children in Africa, and then the person is like, what about the producer, the director that was there filming the starving child? Like, did he give him a sandwich?
Yeah, right.
Or was he just there?
Hey, let me take your picture.
You know?
All right, guys, pack up. Let's leave.
Yeah. No.
Reminds me of Survivor. Remember the show Survivor?
Remember?
Yeah.
Isn't it still on? I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't have cable network.
Yeah, I don't either. I never watched it. I know the show. Yes, I never watched it though.
Like after the first 2 or 3 seasons, like some of the people started coming out and be like, yeah, it was really like what made it hard is like all the crew would be around us eating pizza and like all the pizza boxes would be sitting there and you just sitting there looking at it like, I want it so bad. So could you imagine like all these fat cameramen come down there and film all these starving people of color usually?
Just sit up for me, son. Sit up.
You look a little fatter into this camera. I appreciate it.
So I was reading.
Now I have so many bad visuals in my head now. They're like using like the carrot on a stick, except it's like a it's like a cheeseburger, and they're hanging it over the camera. It's like smile for. It's like look sad, sadder. You want this burger, don't you?
And now you're getting just what, like 0.1% of what's going on in my head at all times.
Yeah. We should really plan these shows better. Otherwise, we end up in Dave holes.
I like this. I like this working up of our interviewing everyone every show actually.
So I was reading this article about the shortages in Venezuela due to the rampant socialism, and it's just amazing how popular Bernie Sanders is right now, and not many recent candidates. I don't know one of the last candidate that was an outright socialist that actually said it proudly. I don't know. The last one was
no major one that I
Yeah,
can
it's been a-
recall.
Was it in the Socialist or Communist Party?
Well, yeah, there's that's what I'm saying. I don't think I can't recall any major.
major ones maybe.
Because the Communist Party and the Socialist Party have been here for decades. So yes, they usually put somebody up.
Probably the last, probably close to socialist, but he was really a fascist. I don't know.
Right.
You're defined by your actions, right? And these presidents are just puppets. So what does it matter? This is a good segue into our next topic, really. I mean,
well, maybe we should let Danilo finish his story about Venezuela since we've cut him off like 3 times
No,
now.
that's about it. It's just amazing how popular the idea of socialism is. And actually, I forget. I forget who said this. I think it was a John Stossel video I was watching, and they were saying that if you go onto any college campus, right, as a guy, and you say you're a socialist, you are way more likely to get laid than if you were to say anything else, like I'm a capitalist or I'm a whatever. Just say I'm a socialist, and the women will swoon over you.
Maybe Stefan Molyneux's right then. Maybe women do decide the future.
Right, and it's a scary thing.
Well, he does. Yeah, he does have a point on that one. They kind of do.
So we need to do a women's outreach. Don't bang guys that say they're socialists.
Right.
They'll end up leaving you with a kid because this,
Or the people with the the Che Guevara T-shirts.
Oh my God.
Oh no! My favorite. What was it? Somebody made a meme. Was it a meme of Che Guevara wearing a Bernie T-shirt? I thought that was hysterical.
I just think Bernie has no shot. You know, I made a bold claim a few weeks ago on the downfall, like just what I thought, like just realistically knee jerk, and just there's no way. I mean,
You knee jerk with an absolute statement? No.
no, like I just said, you know, I don't think Bernie will get elected. Just
No, I don't believe that's what you said. I think I edited that episode, and I don't believe it was. I don't think. I'm pretty sure it was. He's done. It's over.
he's not going to get elected for main reasons, but one could say his ethnicity. So, I mean, I know we have a black president, but whatever, you know, that doesn't really.
Oh, what isn't that? Yeah, there hasn't been a Jewish president. Is that what it is?
Not that I know of, and I don't see how any Americans would let that happen. Like
See, I don't.
they watch the news and they're lost because
Yeah, but I don't think I don't think that I don't think that matters as much as it. I don't think, for at least in the public eye, the public's eye, I don't think race, ethnicity, religion, whatever. I don't think any of that matters as much to the public at large.
I see Bernie Sanders being like the president of like maybe one of the 7 nations that pop up after the United States breaks up, possibly.
Now it's 7. I thought it was only 4 or 5 originally.
I hope it goes to 1,000.
I'd prefer it go to 300 million, but it's just me.
Baby steps, man. We'll go to 1,000, then we'll go to 330 million. So yeah, I do think it's ridiculous. It's like they can see what's going on in Venezuela. The media is not reporting.
Well, they're not.
Reporting, like investigatively, they're not reporting how they should be. But you're not going to ever get corporate media to do that, right? They never want to show governments failing, because when people know and they can see collapse in another country, they can spot it in their own. And governments always want to keep their citizens in the dark until it's too late. And then they have to manufacture a crisis, right? That's what Venezuela done. Oh, you know, the reason none of this is working is because all the rich people are leaving the country. So we need to steal all their money and all their businesses. And then, oh, wait, we don't know how to price anything because we're the government and all we do is steal. And then people have bread lines. And then the people of Venezuela, they're kept in the dark with all this feely bullshit, right? And never any logical arguments are presented like, hey, do you want your kids to be able to eat? I mean, if not, go ahead and vote for that guy. But if you want your kids and your family to eat, you can vote for me.
Do you want bread lines? Because this is how you get bread lines.
You win an election in Venezuela now, and the Venezuelan regime made that a possibility by the failures of socialism. And it's like, once these people get in there with these political ideas in their head, they think they have to take them to their logical conclusion. It's like, when do you realize that a bad investment is time to pull out? You know, it's like, we got to take that hill. We've lost too many men on it already. We'd be spitting in the face of their deaths. That's what socialists and that's what central planners do. They like double down every time.
They have to, because it works for they have to milk it for everything it can, because unless the person is a complete ideologue when they get into the whole thing, at some level they know that eventually the system will collapse. Like, they know it. You have to be completely naive to not recognize that these systems cannot continue forever. So you just keep pushing and you just keep milking, and it just goes to generation, and you just keep pushing the limits, and you push the limits.
Yeah. It's like, I think people, once they get into like a big government structure or they get some kind of what they consider a false sense of order, because I think chaos scares a lot of people, right? That's why governments exist, in my opinion, is that fear of chaos. But
then you reap what you sow, because you end up creating chaos out of that fear.
I think what happens with government is what happens when you subvert or attempt to subvert chaos, but then government existing is also a part of chaos. So,
well, that's what I was talking about. You create chaos by trying to avoid it instead of letting it occur, instead of letting chaos happen and creating spontaneous order out of it. You force things to try to stop the chaos, and it ends up creating a worse chaos.
Yeah, look at the school systems. like you're trying to say, okay, arbitrarily kids need to know this much. Like, let's say there's no, under the table or like negative thing that the government's trying to do with the school systems. Let's pretend like it's all egalitarian, right? They still set up these arbitrary points to where they say, okay, students that's why there's grades, right? Like first through 12th, right? That's bullshit. Like that's stupid. That makes no sense because there's kids that know more than a 40-year-old at the age of 10, and they're still sitting in 8th grade or whatever at that point, or whatever grade you're in at age 10, and
I think you're only still like in 3rd or 4th grade at 10, aren't you?
Okay, you're in
4th or
3rd,
5th
and you're
grade. I don't know.
wasting away doing literally nothing
Well,
due to arbitrary bullshit and the force of a gun.
Well,
let me just say one thing. Going back to the socialist, would-be tyrants. I don't know if any of you follow chess, like the chess scene or professional chess, but I have been a big chess guy, and I know I'm like completely changing.
I definitely do not follow the chess scene. I was
Well,
not aware that there was I like the game of chess. I was not aware that there was actually a scene. Is there like does that mean there's like groupies?
Well,
No, they meet up in alleys, dark alleys, and play for money.
But I don't know if you guys ever heard of Garry Kasparov.
Yeah, the Russian.
Right, he was the world champion for like the longest.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah,
and I don't know if he still is, but he recently came out, probably in a Facebook post, saying how he's completely horrified how popular Bernie Sanders is as an outright socialist. Because and especially when people praise socialism, because he grew up in Soviet Russia and he's seen the horrors of that, and he basically admitted, he did say that people should be grateful of the luxury that capitalism has provided us in the way that we live in comfort today, and it's very easily forgotten, that kind of thing, and I thought that was awesome because I followed the guy since way before I knew any of this stuff. I was just interested in chess, and he was awesome in chess. And just to hear that he thinks like that as well, I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
so everybody,
I saw that. It was amazing.
Please like his Facebook profile, Garry Kasparov.
Most communists have never lived in communism, and if
right,
they did,
exactly.
They did, they were either brainwashed or or they were part of the Politburo.
Well, yeah. Well, we've discussed this before. That was the problem. Didn't we discuss that on the episode when Michael?
Well, I mean, I think that goes for anybody living in a totalitarian regime.
Yeah, I know, but we I think we specifically talked about your mother-in-law. I think with Michael about the fact that the reason that she didn't find it that offensive is because she was on the government dole. She was getting she was a government worker. Exactly. But that is I mean, he's not the first. There's been a number of former people who formerly lived in communist or socialist countries who have come out and said this. There's one video that I know went pretty viral of some much older woman who survived, I think, the Holocaust. And she goes through this whole thing about showing how the rise of not the Nazism itself, not the truly atrocious stuff, but just like Hitler's rise and the whole the formation of everything. Like, she laid out how everything that has been happening here for the past couple of decades lines up with it, just at a slower speed. And I've said this before. They've just gotten smarter.
Well,
the state, the abstract notion of the state, just any state, in general, has gotten smarter because the people have just they've learned what has worked, what has failed. And the American empire has had a few thousand years of knowledge to go through and figure out why the big empires failed and what and they've been able to drag everything out at a much slower speed, and it becomes the frog in the boiling pot of water. Do you think
government's going to trend that way, though, to be more ruthless, more efficient, and more
when it has to be efficient? No, it'll never be efficient.
Obviously, right? But no, think about how technology goes, or just the computer, right? Like what version of computer are we on right now? It's immeasurable, right? So what version of government are we on right now? I think that government, like the version of government that people will be on in like even 100 years from now, will be alien to us if there are still governments around and people
Uh,
around, assuming that
I
like a
don't.
black hole doesn't
Well, I
pop
mean,
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
that large hadron
well,
collider and
I would.
swallow us all.
I
I
think the idea of government is a remnant of a barbaric time in history where people rule by brute force, and it's only changed with some more sophisticated techniques of propaganda, right, and false flags and disinformation, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's inevitable that it will be destroyed, or the idea of authority, the idea of statism is on its way out, right? It's a one way. We're on the one way path out, because it's like once people realize, okay, chain slavery is immoral.
Could you imagine a
There's no
draft
president.
today, Danilo? Could you
th-
just imagine a draft today? Like if you had to draft people today, could you imagine if the draft, like the military or whatever, just came door to door and was like, "Hey, we got to get your son." Imagine these kids now. They're all like what, like in high school or getting out of high school.
Right.
That they would be draft age would be. They have no clue. They're gonna be like, "Hey, you can't bring your cell phone." Be like, "All right, well, I'm going to Canada. I'm not going anywhere I can't bring my cell phone. Plain and simple." You
Yes.
know.
Yeah, so many things like that are impossible now with the information age, the digital technology age. It's just they can't do that. They can't do it like that anymore. Government is a dinosaur. It's being phased out. Just like chain slavery was phased out. The moral, the moral understanding of most people has accepted that chain slavery is immoral and will never return. And the same idea with the
Well,
idea of the
actually,
state.
sorry to burst your bubble, but there are more active chattel slaves now on the planet than there have ever been in recorded human history. But in the Western world, there is no such thing as chattel slavery on the surface. There are still slaves in America that me and you and Jeremy and anybody that's listening will probably never know about. But the idea of government backed slavery in the West is definitely gone.
yeah.
So, so wait. So if it's not government-backed slavery, what kind of slavery are you
No,
talking
not
about?
in the. Not, well, he's no. He's talking about. He was talking about there is chattel slavery, not in the West.
You're talking about like in Africa and like
Yeah,
Well,
there's
Middle
yeah,
East,
still
and yeah,
India,
yeah,
Pakistan,
right,
Kyrgyzstan, and
yeah, this it still
Bangladesh,
goes
all
it still goes on. Yeah, exactly. That
right,
still
yeah, yeah,
occurs.
right, right.
Unfortunately, but it
yeah.
does.
So I
So
guess
there's no
maybe I
like
should
so we,
specify in the West.
Well, no, that's why
Just so,
Dave said that. He said
right,
in the
right,
West,
right,
and that's why he clarified what he was saying, that in
right,
the West it's not. But yeah, here I think
right.
what he was talking about here, right, if I understand you correctly, is there is still slavery. We just don't know about it, and it's not backed by government force here like it used to be. That's the only difference.
exactly. It
Because
wasn't like
there's
nobody
there's
like.
sex slavery that goes on. You
Right.
know, there's all those horrible stories
Yeah.
that keep coming out of places like I think Cleveland, is one of them.
I mean, you get caught with you turn your blinker on at the wrong time, you get a fine, you don't pay it, you get put in jail. You get out and you have $40,000 worth of debt because you've been sitting in jail. That's slavery as well. So I mean,
Free range slavery.
that's free range
free
slavery.
range slavery. That's right. I love that
So I
term.
mean, the same thing is I mean, slavery. What we when we think of slavery, we've all been propagandized to have one vision beat into our head, and not really what the scope of slavery really is. In my opinion.
Yeah, and a good strategy for a man in the street video would be like you did in your video at the Trump rally, is simple question. If 0% taxation is complete freedom, 100% taxation is complete slavery. At which point is it not slavery, right? And
Yeah,
that's a great
people did
question.
not like answering that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, I think it's something we need to look at. It's like, we need to look at slavery? What?
well,
What about slavery do we need to look at?
well, because most people's mind automatically goes to chattel slavery, and that's all they recognize. You know, that's why I always think that's why I think the example of the Jews in Egypt is such a great one. You know, when I first learned about that from Ben Stone, I'm like, that's awesome. Like that's a wonderful way to. That's why I use that in my arguments with people. It's like, listen, people have no problem calling them slaves. They were tax slaves. Okay, so why aren't we slaves? You know, but people have an aversion to that word because they automatically go to chattel slavery. They associate the word slavery to
Well, it's
just
you
mean
know,
chattel. They don't recognize most people I've actually encountered don't even know the word chattel. They just know slavery. They don't they don't recognize that there
well,
is
most people
a
don't understand.
delineation of types.
Most people don't understand when you say gun, you mean a stationary, you know, a stationary object that can fire a projectile. All right,
A
so if
stationary object? Why does it have to
yeah,
be
so like
stationary?
something mounted on a ship, something you know, like a
Oh,
howitzer, something that doesn't move, a stationary something. That's what a gun is.
I,
A firearm is something else. You know, so that's why everything's worded differently. You know, when you say when the Hillary talks about guns, it's like,
But
well,
yeah,
damn, I
yeah,
don't want
but
a
that well,
howitzer right from the
yeah,
yard.
all
What are
right,
you
but
talking about?
that's
Okay,
all
okay,
right. Well, that
yeah, let's regulate howitzers.
but
that unfortunately I think is taking it a little too far because as
Well,
much
if
as
words
much
don't
as
have
we like,
meaning, then
well,
why are
no,
we
no,
talking?
it has nothing to do with no, because as I was just gonna say, as much as people like I know the three of us and a lot of people like us, we like to be precise as we can with our language for a specific reason. Stuff like that unfortunately is part of the common vernacular, and you can't really because unfortunately you do know what the majority of people mean when they use those terms because
Oh, of course, and that's
it's common parlance. Like you can try to correct it, but stuff like that I think is a little, I think that, trying to get people to recognize like the straight up euphemisms of like extortion and taxation because like I said, like I described earlier, that the actions are exactly the same. The only difference is a legitimacy that's put on one.
I think when
Um,
most people say guns, they just mean this amalgamous idea
yeah, no,
of
they
things that
most
can
people
be.
mean firearms.
Dave,
That's when
Dave,
they say gun.
Dave,
Like again, but that's part of the common parlance. That's
but
what
Dave,
people
Dave,
think.
you're not thinking guns kill people.
Oh, so do like hard candies. More people die to bathtubs in the United
Right.
States of America than you would be shocked. You would be like, really?
or
This many people?
or the number of people that prevent crimes with having by having a gun. Right.
It's immeasurable because you also have to think about, okay, if I'm going to rob a convenience store, if I walk in, the first thing I see is somebody open carrying, I'm not robbing that place because guy might get John Wayne up his ass and say, I'm going to just fire down on this motherfucker, and you're screwed. And then he looks like a hero because it's all on camera, right? So
Well, I
you
don't.
know, so I say an armed society is a polite society, man. You go to a gun show, if you know what, anybody that's against gun, I want them to go to a gun show. Why is there not Wild West shootouts at gun shows, right?
Right.
Why is it everyone walking out of there just with bullet holes in them?
Boston Massacre. Boston Massacre. One person starts. Everyone starts.
It just blows my mind, you know, a gun shop. So it's the last time you heard of a gun shop getting robbed, like in the middle of the work day?
Gunshot.
Like they might get robbed.
That's funny.
They might get robbed at night when no one's there, but no
A
one's
gunshot.
robbing a gun shop unless they're a SWAT team.
That's a good one. I gotta remember that one.
You know, I mean, just simple
Gunshot
facts like
holdups.
simple quips like these really put perspective on reality for people. You know, it's like, when's the last time someone went into a police station and just said, "Hey, I'm just going to rob everybody"? Well, no, because they all have guns, right? If they didn't have guns, you could go rob the police station, believe it or not.
If we can save one child.
If you don't believe me, let's disarm the Mexican police and see how fast they all get robbed.
Yeah, I love that every time there's a gun control meme, you see these the gang guys with all, it's like, yo dog, where do we hand these in?
Yo, where do we register these at?
Right.
Yo, that's my favorite one. It's got like an AK-47U full auto. He's like, where do I register this at? Oh, I don't. I register it by firing it at anyone trying to take it from me.
Well, I don't know how we got off the guns, but
I know,
I was
It's always gonna get off the guns.
I had wanted to bring it back to one thing that Danilo was saying before about I mean to keep going with the Kasparov thing and about how people like him don't how do they not see it? I don't get it. But I think that ties into the language thing with people are so easily swayed by propaganda and stuff that just the fact that the term democratic socialism gets thrown around, it really doesn't mean anything. But like that's enough for people to go, oh, well, if that failed, that was, because most people think of Russia, they think, oh, that was communist. It was communism failed. It wasn't socialism. No, no, no.
Kim Jong-un is a leader of a democratic socialist
No,
republic.
I know. Like I said, people don't recognize what it is. Same thing with Venezuela. They look at Venezuela and go, oh, that's been horrible for years. So that's like these people that are, especially like the younger generations that are like, that are swarming to Bernie, that are going through the college system, like we were talking about earlier, and they're like, it's so funny because I've heard academics who are either borderline anarchist or at least sympathetic to the type of ideas that we espouse, that'll fully admit that there's this progressive leftist bent, and there has been for forever in the higher education, especially in the higher education. But then they'll still turn around in the next breath and be like, oh, but it's still a place for ideas to be brought to the surface and for people to experiment. It's like, no, you can't have it both ways. If there's already this predetermined, ideology that most people are supposed to be directed to, how is it still an open place where ideas can get exposed? Because any idea that doesn't conform with the overarching sentiment is going to get squashed in a freaking hurry. That's not an open environment.
Well, Jeremy, you're not considering it's Nazi type socialism, it's Stalin socialism.
Well, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Venezuelan socialism. Come on,
but it's the whole. It's the whole. It wasn't done right thing. That's the attitude. It wasn't done right yet.
Though, right? Under a socialist model, right, that these corporations who are obviously donating to, all right, so Texas Instruments and all the other big, people who write history books, school books, textbooks, whatever. They get huge subsidies from the government. They get huge corporate welfare. They donate to a lot of political campaigns and stuff.
Of course they do.
So why wouldn't that happen? Look at who Texas Instruments is donating to. Look at who your next time your kids come home from school, if they're still in public school, grab their books, look at the corporation that's on them, and then go look up, just Google that corporation's name and then political donations and see who they're donating to, and then go, holy shit, my kids are getting fed this nonsense.
But I don't even think who they're.
I think socialism the idea of socialism. Okay, I think this is a hunch, of course. It allows people, collectivism, of course, allows people to strip away their identity through a self-hypnosis, and then let everything be a collective thing, and they're easily controlled when they think they're part of a collective.
Well, sure.
Why wouldn't you have why as a large corporation, as a government, would you want easier controlled people? Well, think about it. It makes perfect sense.
Well, what? I don't know what your actual point was, so I can't tell you if it makes perfect sense.
Well, we're on a big tangent about schools and socialism.
No, I know, but I didn't actually hear a point in there. I was.
Well, no. My point
you had a point before that I was going to try to go off of, but you went off in a different direction. I was going to say that I don't think it necessarily matters, who they're donating to. It's just the fact that they're tied into the government in the first place. It doesn't matter because because you're right. You tell them to go look, they're most likely getting it from both sides. But even if they weren't, they're still getting the subsidies you referred to, which is the point. Like, once the federal government is subsidizing the largest producers of textbooks in the country, it's game over. And that's been going on for a very long time. But people don't even want to look, like, people just, because that's when the fear that you spoke about earlier sets in, and people don't want to think of the possibility that they've been lied to, they've participated in this lie, they've helped it along, and that the people that they believe they are putting forth as their representatives are actually these whether they start out with or become these sociopathic scumbags that
I think Jeremy, I think you recently had a taste of government history propaganda with your Lincoln meme. in the comments.
Oh my God, he got so mad.
Comments underneath that.
So mad.
I read those and
What did I say?
Did you see
It got
both of?
deleted.
Did you see both of them? There was 2 threads on it because it started on the voluntarism page.
oh, I got
Because I shared it to voluntarism,
All right. Okay.
and he first commented there, and he was obviously a fan of Lincoln's, and did not take it very well.
Yeah,
Obviously,
very hard.
we're doing visual radio, visual humor here that's not present. So for anybody who hasn't seen it, the Be a Shame If series that I've been doing recently of memes, the Lincoln one that went out today with where it calls him a tyrant and has John Wilkes Booth saying it was a shame if somebody toppled him. Well, somebody got very upset about this, and then it kept trying to insist that I was like cheering assassination, and that basically that was my answer for things. And I was like, when did I say this? Where all I said was Lincoln had it coming.
All you
'Cause he
said was
did.
Lincoln is a tyrant, which is correct, and that it would be a shame if someone toppled him.
Well, no,
It's
no,
not
because
really correct.
well,
but
one of
it's funny.
the hashtags that I put at the top of it was Lincoln had it coming, because I believe he
Oh,
did.
yeah, okay,
I
okay.
believe he did. He
Hey.
wasn't a good
it's-
guy. You read
No. Let's strip this away. Let's strip President Lincoln away, and let's strip away, or not. Let's just strip Lincoln away. All right. So
but
we say the statement.
the meme
we
was
say
about
the
Lincoln.
statement-
How can we?
President got assassinated. Now, does that sound crazy to anybody? Like, presidents get assassinated throughout history all the fucking time. That shit happens across the whole world.
that's not the point.
Why would you get rustled about it? Though?
No, it's
That
not.
shit was
he
200 years ago.
He was saying violence
Or
is not
100
the answer, right?
No, yeah, he was
And-
saying
and-
that.
yeah, right. And I was
And
thinking,
you
wait,
were
wait,
espousing violence. How?
no. Well, yeah. There's that, and then I was also thinking, like, wait a minute. So you're completely ignoring the 500,000 people that died because of his, initiated northern aggression against the South. Did you forget about that?
Well,
please?
that's because
You know?
again, in typical, I mean, he tried. The guy ended up turning around later apparently, and I just never went back to it. But he tried to re-engage me in conversation after I straight up called him a sophist and said I'm walking away from you because you're just.
Yeah.
He just kept literally kept throwing stuff out there and just making stuff up, and I'm like, dude, none of this is here. I don't know where you're getting any of this from, but whatever. But he basically he acted like he's sympathetic, I guess, towards the voluntarist idea.
Although if you check this channel, his banner is like running for president.
I know, but he basically
All you did was plant a seed.
yeah, but he basically said, he kept referring to violence, and violence is the answer. And twice I tried to point out that there's nothing inherently wrong with violence.
Mm-hmm.
It's the initiation of that violence or aggression, is the phrase that we use more often. That is the problem. Because self-defense is a violent act.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still committing violence at that point, but
Well, it's not always a
our-
violent act, but yeah.
well, okay, but it can be,
Okay.
but there's
Sorry, I'm so into semantics. It's not funny.
but
my
there's
bad.
nothing there's nothing inherently wrong with violence. It's the initiation of that violence that people like us have a problem with. And I tried to explain it to him twice, kept going right over his head, and he kept coming back to the fact that 'cause again, that's where people's minds, after they've been indoctrinated for so long and they've been molded into this certain form, even with the ones who like that may be closer to breaking free because they're asking questions. There's certain and I even in that thread I ended up throwing my sacred cows constitution meme because
Yeah.
it fits, because there's certain things that even people who have started to question will still not touch. My dad's like that. My dad,
Right.
to this day, I still can't convince him that Jefferson and Washington were not the wonderful guys that he thinks they were. Because he's still he's got everything else, but it's still that.
No. All right. So, Jeremy, I've got this friend named Ralph. He owns a bunch of slaves. What do you think about this guy?
Ralph sucks.
Okay. Well, actually, Ralph was Jefferson and Washington.
Well, no, but again, that's when the justifications come out.
Okay.
Oh, that's the way it was. That's the way it was at the time.
They were born into it. It's not their
yeah.
fault.
I got into it.
So I
sorry,
think
go
one of the best euphemisms that is not often focused on is the idea, the word president. We say the president of the United States. I think we would do better to change that to mass murderer. So we say mass murderer Roosevelt, mass murderer Obama, mass murderer Bush, and I think that gets the point across where people have this mental block. No, he's just the president. He just
I
he
think
just
it
he
would
just
say,
does stuff.
I think it should be changed from president to grand puppet.
Puppet.
So grand puppet, the grand puppet Obama. Because I mean,
Right.
he is the most glorified puppet on the planet right now, right?
Right.
Because like, I mean, we all agree that the United States government is not ran by the politicians, right?
Right, but I
Okay,
mean,
alright.
fundamentally, it doesn't matter though, because I mean, you
Yeah.
could say mass murder Rothschild, but still, somebody's got to take the blame, and along the chain of command, who's to blame? Like, from the soldier in Iraq all the way up to the
Soldiers are
president,
the ones, the mass murderers.
who's to blame? Everybody is to blame.
Well,
Everybody in the chain of command.
there's culpability to go around,
Well, he's a party
but to a degree.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, the harshest reality that most people, especially most of the troops, don't want to face is they are the most culpable. The ones who actually carry out the act, unless they are actually like literally brainwashed or literally whatever, like put in a catatonic state, or like I guess MK Ultra, with the exception of like with of those exceptions.
Unless you were like
they're
a
the ones
clone of
carrying
Emperor
out the act. Whether you
right?
following order, whatever, you're the one did it, so you're the one with the highest level of moral culpability at that point. And that's the thing. Again, that's something people don't want to face. They don't want to recognize that because it hurts. It hurts. It hurts your head. It hurts everything to think about these things.
And the other
What?
thing is, just gonna say the other thing is, Jeremy, you're saying about your father and his love for Washington. The greatest presidents that we all revere or are taught to revere in our government schools are the ones that have killed the most people.
There's some
right?
of the worst freaking people. Holy shit, you're right. It is. Look
The
at all of
greatest.
them. Yeah,
Roosevelt,
Greece, all of them.
the top 10 list all the time. Yeah, Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt,
Lincoln.
LBJ, Lincoln. Oh yeah, everybody from both sides loves Lincoln.
Truman. Don't forget.
Ooh. There may or may not be a Truman meme coming out soon. Just,
Nice.
just to say.
Anyways,
It was by request.
Nice.
One of our fans requested it multiple times. So
yeah, the whole thing is ridiculous. The whole president thing, all that. But I think this is a good segue actually to what I wanted to talk about tonight for I guess a few minutes because we're going kind of long. This whole voting thing, talking about voting, talking about the president, talking about it's all, in my opinion, pointless. You could literally go out around your entire city with a shovel and a bag of seeds and do more for humanity.
A bag of seeds of liberty.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, but
or actually, pretty much any type of food seed would work too. In that.
Right.
yeah, you could plant trees, anything,
Or
anything.
cannabis seeds.
Yeah, you could plant cannabis seeds around the entire city. Who cares? Whatever, you do anything, right?
I've said that for years. It's the quickest way to end anything.
I made a post a while back ago, right? So Rand Paul spends all this hours, all this time, getting 1 million phone calls in Iowa, right? Doesn't even get 4% of the vote. Imagine all that time orchestrating and spent time calling on people if all of that was spent doing literally anything else. Painting cities. It doesn't matter. Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Just that one thing.
But he's
And all
Ron
the
Paul's
money's
son,
spent.
so he gets a pass.
Well.
No. That's just one case on a layer of a cake that's a 10 billion layers thick. So it's just so pointless to waste your time voting, doing any of this stuff. And if you don't see that, then open your eyes a little harder, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, we've been having some discussions about this lately. I had another one today with another friend of mine who was only a year or two ago was running for office as a libertarian, and I thought had finally gotten over it, but apparently she hasn't. But it's sad to see the mental gymnastics a lot of people, so-called liberty-minded people, so-called libertarians, that they'll go through to justify this and then act like, oh well, you're just They try to pull out like the No True Scotsman and like.
At least I'm doing something.
Well, yeah. See, and that was the thing. I got that today from
That's a
this.
funny
I
one.
got that today from this woman, and not only did I get it, well, I can't. She actually put it as I can't sit by. I can't sit by and do nothing. But as soon as she said that, I replied with, "So are you saying that somebody like myself is because I choose not to vote is doing nothing? Are you saying that by doing podcasts, by being on national radio now, by trying to educate my family, friends, and my clients, by taking my business in an agorist direction, by encouraging entrepreneurship among other people, by trying to put either my time, effort, or money towards projects that are helping make the state obsolete or can make the state obsolete, raising my kids when I get the opportunity as peacefully as I can, to try to hopefully have them get a jump start on learning all these things, starting to grow my own food, so all of these things, like I'm doing nothing." And her response was, "I think it's great that you do those things, but to me, you are letting the people like you are the ones letting the sociopaths take over." And I'm like, that's what I
taken over.
That's what I said.
What is she talking about?
That's what I said. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, you know as well as I do. I'm like, you know this stuff too. The sociopaths have always been there. They're drawn to power. That's kind of the point.
Ask somebody about voting this. Do you believe that the United States government is currently being ran by the politicians that are elected? No one will say yes because they were stupid if they say yes.
But there's still...
So then you go, why do you vote then? Because if your vote really doesn't matter in the case that it doesn't matter who's elected, someone else is running the show. 80% of government officials are unelected.
Right. Yeah. Right,
exactly.
Your vote matters nothing.
It's got to be more than 80% because there's only what?
If you really count senators who get reelected no matter what, gerrymandering, they're in there forever.
But I wasn't even going to say that. I was just going to say there's only,
you have a 98% chance to get reelected to a senatorial campaign?
It's not 98.
Yes, it's 98% if you're an incumbent.
It's not. It wasn't 98%.
Okay, well, it was something stupid.
It was 80, it was like 89 to 90.
Oh, well, sorry, I flipped too. I'm dyslexic.
Yeah. But,
right.
So, but yeah, but they're just trained to think that that's what to most people that's doing something. It doesn't matter. I'm still doing something. If it doesn't matter, how are you doing anything?
It reminds me of
for the mob boss, then we're gonna get ruled by a bad mob boss.
Right. It reminds me of Larkin Rose's of analogy. Is like, well, my head hurts. All right, let me smash, stub my toe in the door. Why are you doing that? Because my head hurts. Is it improving? No. But I'm doing something. At least I'm doing something.
Hey, my car's totaled. Why don't I get somebody else to drive it and see if they can get it to work? That's what someone's telling me right now when they're like, hey, you should vote. I should vote for a new driver of a wrecked car?
Right.
Why? Well, Why? Tell me, please. Quantify this.
Or getting a new president on a wrecked car is like just repainting the car.
Well, it's not even that because most people will, they can weasel out of a lot of these arguments by just saying it's just the past couple of presidents or the past couple of generations of whatever, like. One of the discussions we were having the other day with one of our friends, who I think is mad at both Dave and I now, but because I usually hear, and I've actually heard this from other anarchists, that voting, and Dave's actually said this in the past, although I know he's now changed his position on this, but that it's a pragmatic thing to do because you're still trying to do something. You're still trying to shrink government. So and I've always made the moral case. Like that's been my argument since I came to all these conclusions, was that it's the moral argument is why I don't vote, because to me
I don't know
it's
if I've made a pragmatic case, but I get what you're
you,
saying.
no, yeah, but you haven't, not for yourself, but for other people.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You've now you've now backed off of that too. That's what I was saying, but you had in the past.
I still carry that stance. Sometimes I just let my inner rage out. My stance is that I'm not going to vote. I don't care what you do.
But again, I decided to try a different approach with these guys yesterday, and I kind of flipped the pragmatic thing on its head for them, and I said, listen, you keep talking about how pragmatism. Well, let's talk about pragmatism. What actually is more pragmatic in this situation? Is it spending whatever time, energy, and or money you have to attempt to get a specific candidate or a couple of candidates elected in hopes that they could possibly do something to reduce the size and scope of the state, even though nobody before them has been able to do so, because every time one little thing was done, 500 more big things or small things or medium things were done, half of them behind the scenes at the same time, that nobody had any idea was going on, and the government still grew even though people thought it was shrinking. So you have no historical.
Reagan said he was going to destroy the Department of Education budget, right?
Yeah, the Department of Education was only a year or two old when he was running for president, and he said he was going to get rid of it. And not only did he not get rid of it, he empowered it. But the
80%.
the point is that like, well, okay, what's more pragmatic? Just doing all that and spending all that time in hopes that it could happen, or spending that same amount, whatever it was, of time, energy, and or money into helping make the state obsolete, into putting your time and effort and money into projects, services that can rival the state, help make it obsolete, do anything. Like, what's actually more pragmatic? And I said, I'm going to choose the latter every damn time. And to me, it's not a matter of opinion, because which is it? What do you like? Because most of these people, when you corner them, will admit that A, they know their vote doesn't matter, and B, they know there's little to no chance of anything actually getting changed. But they would rather cling to that slim possibility rather than expend the same amount of energy to do things that would have a discernible impact right away.
You remember in the first Saw when he tried to start sawing the chain down with that? Because he was like, I don't want to have to cut my leg off, right? And if he would have shorted all of it, cut his leg off, and got out of the room, he would have lived, right?
Mm.
Or cut his foot off, right? So it's that fear that, like, let's attempt like something that is reasonable first. And I know that not voting doesn't sound reasonable to some people, but you got to cut the foot off. You got to say no more, in my opinion, because there's no way you can quantify that your vote matters or is helping. Government is a lagging indicator. It follows public opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Government always exists because of public opinion. Opinion is the only thing why government exists.
Yeah. So people give it authority and legitimacy. People
now,
give it the power.
When someone hears 98% people didn't vote, yeah, that's going to be a lot better than 98% did vote, and now we have a shitty guy in office. So there's no way you can tell me that everyone voted and the guy got in and nothing changed, right? That would not be that the opposite would not be a better course of action. If 98% people didn't vote and there was an election held, it would be like, wait a second, 2% of the population picked this guy? No way. No way.
See, I mean, I don't know if it'll ever reach that level.
I know it won't, but
it's already, what was it? It was definitely less than 50. Was it closer to 60% that didn't vote the last election?
No. People are going to vote this government away with their dollar when the dollar collapses and they move to something else. That's all the only thing that's holding America, the government, together right now is the dollar. And people have so much invested in the dollar that that's another fear that they have is a dollar collapse, a government collapse, they lose all of their worth. So the minute their worth starts going down, they're going to invest outside of that currency, and America will be no more because
Anybody who actually is actively doing that is already investing in other things.
exactly. So yeah, no, you'll see it when like the common folk are like, "Whoa, we got to get out of the dollar."
I don't think it's going to get rid of government, though. I mean, government's an idea. You know, it's
No,
it's
of
a mental
course.
state. They're going to create it again. And, you know, the United States might be gone, but this is going to be something else. So that's why, you know, that's why we are focusing on, you know, getting these ideas of voluntarism and capitalism through people's heads so they understand its illegitimacy.
Yeah, that's why. Same reason to try to build the systems up. So when the inevitable collapse happens, more people are not clamoring for more of the same,
Right.
just like a tweak.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, there'll be more people that go, "Hey, we don't need it because we already have this. We already,
Right.
we did this without them. So why can't we do this again? So,
Right.
which is our whole, that's our mission here, right? Plant those seeds, get people thinking, and get them prepared for. Like I said, it is inevitable. I mean, we talk about it. It's inevitable. We can't. It will collapse. It's just going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So.
And how smooth the transition will be, and I think that's our job, or
That's
that's
going to
my
depend
job.
on us.
Yeah,
It's going to depend on us.
how smooth that will be. But yeah, we should wrap this up. And
Mhm.
and I'll just say one more thing on this. I was asked by a family member recently, you know, who I talking about candidates, you know, who I liked as a candidate, not necessarily voted, but who I like, or who do you think is going to be president? And I said, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect my life. I'm not going to change the way I parent, the way I look at my friends, the way I look at my family, you know, my views on business and, you know,
Wow.
and the way people interact. It doesn't change that. It doesn't affect me. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Well,
matter. It doesn't, you know, and so it's completely irrelevant to me. And therefore it's like Dave said, it's a waste of time, and it's quite destructive for the future of our species as a whole. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, think about all the Bernie supporters, right? When Hillary goes out, right? She's gonna win. She's already got basically the delegates. So, I mean, the article I saw yesterday was Bernie could win California and New York, and Hillary would still have the delegates. So he's done.
yeah. So there you go.
So,
We go with the absolutes. But
well, no, I mean,
all right.
obviously the FBI could release what they need to about Hillary or what we think the worst case scenario is going on with her, and her campaign would be done tomorrow. But for some reason, they're not doing that. Which, I mean, I think that's why a lot of Democrat voters are like really upset this year. They're like, we had this fresh face Obama last time, and now we've got Hillary. She couldn't beat Obama, and it's looking really bad for her. I mean, I doubt she'll ever go to prison, but she might be out of politics very soon.
Okay, now you're just sending conflicting messages. All right, I think I'm gonna follow Danilo's lead. We are gonna wrap this up. I don't really have much else. I don't have much else to add. But it was nice to have a conversation with just you two guys. I suppose.
I suppose.
I suppose.
I suppose.
If we have to, you
We
know.
have to.
I'm glad we talked about Danilo memes. There was something I really wanted
Yes,
to
that
talk
was
about.
that was fun.
Oh well, let me ask you, what was the most popular Danilo meme, like with the most shares and reach?
I think Dave's original one still got the most shares.
I think that one hit that one
Wow,
was
the
ladies.
first
But
Ever heard of the Federal Reserve?
now I'm tracking them because I'm launching instead of because I was just putting them directly on your wall, but
Right.
now I started launching them through this because enough of our fans of our page were liking them after I was putting them on yours and then putting them there. So I was like, well, I'll just put them here now. So now I'll be able to track it. And what was it? I guess the one couple memes ago. I forget which one now. Whichever one I sent you guys the screenshot of. I guess that was the
There was one that's really
one of the hot mom ones. Got
Nice.
is gotten. I think it was our got the third highest reach and shares and likes out of the week of all of our other memes. So that's the biggest we've done with Danilo memes in that capacity. So that was cool.
Nice. Jeremy is an emerging meme king.
I still have a lot to learn. I'm just lucky.
I hope he
have
doesn't get burned out. That's my only fear is
No,
Jeremy's
I'm gonna.
burned out.
Well, no, that's what happened before. I went through. I'll back off for a week or two when I need to, and then I'll recharge and I'll start again. But like I was just gonna say, I'm lucky. I have a couple of friends now that are really good at this stuff and are willing to help me. Because I'm still not in their league. Because I still suck at Photoshop. But outside of that, I'm getting pretty good, I think. So,
Yeah, I'm no good at Photoshop either.
so
Awesome.
This was fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome conversation, gentlemen. So we will wrap this up. If anyone wants to help us out, you can donate to us Bitcoin or Patreon. That's patreon.com/Seeds of Liberty to help us out. Please do so. We love doing this. We want to do more, interview more fascinating people, and we trade value for value. So if you find value in our content, please donate to us so we can so you can help us spread the message of freedom and voluntarism throughout the land. So awesome conversation, Jeremy and Dave. Thank you very much. So this is Seeds of Liberty podcast. Wishing everyone have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.
Floating head.